Hold on this. Brilliant. Right, thank you everybody for coming today, attendees and filmmakers. It's really lovely that you could make it to the Peckham and Nunhead Free Film Festival and the How Did We Get Here event, and they call us Maids. Today's the 7th day of the Peckham and Nunhead Free Film Festival, and as we all know, this year has been very challenging, and we've moved online, which is a complete a new thing for us. We've never done an event like this, so please, anyone who's attended, bear with us, but we are really proud to actually have continue our festival. I hope everybody's watched How Did We Get Here, which is the Women in Film workshop that happened back in the end of February, beginning of March, just before lockdown. I hope some of the attendees would talk about that sort of odd experience as it was just looming, the whole COVID-19 situation. And then after we've spoken with the attendees about the whole process of joining a collective workshop in their community, we'll then move on to talk to Terry Ragg from Leeds Animation and Marissa, who is from Justice for Domestic Workers, and about the whole process of this beautiful and powerful film. But as I said before, I won't talk too much about that now because we will be speaking with Terry. I'll just give you a brief intro to the Peckham and Nunhead Free Film Festival. It's been going 11 years. It's a free festival run by volunteers, and the aim of it is to have a community film festival to be inclusive for the community. People who want to get into film but may not have any experience can volunteer, or they have made films to be part of it. Because tomorrow night we have Tiana Banton, who's an independent filmmaker who came to us and wanted her film to be part of it, so she's got a platform. We've got short films online. We've got an actual live event on Friday at the Coppleston Get On Up as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, who sadly passed away. And then we have Exploding Cinema, which is a night of film madness on Saturday night. And then on Sunday we have another live event called The King of SE15. But do go onto our website because there are films there to view that are there throughout the festival. I'm one half of Women in Film. Unfortunately, Elsa's not with us tonight, but so I'm going to speak on her behalf. We began Women in Film 11 years ago because we felt that there wasn't enough female narrative out there at the cinema, and we thought it would be a really good idea to start running events ourselves. With very little experience, we just went ahead and started screening as part of the Peckham and Nunhead Free Film Festival. And then as our confidence grew, we decided to run workshops that people turned up to when we were like, okay, then we can do this again and we can apply for funding. So as us two as Women in Film and other people who've come in and been involved in it, and you know, it's just a kind of a moving thing. As me and Elsa were always there, but people can come and go and work with us and move on. It is just a very fluid project, really. So our latest project was an animation workshop. We were discussing what would be the next good project to do, and we felt animation would be. So we again got funding, put out an advert, and we have here Rianne, Janine, Amber, Rhoda, and Beth, who took part of some of the attendees of the workshop. So I'm going to start by asking the way how I see it on the camera. Oh, sorry, and Holly, sorry. I'm going to start with you, Holly, and then go to Rianne, Janine, Beth, Rhoda, and Amber, because that's how I see it on the screen. It's probably completely the opposite way for everybody else. But I'm just going to start by asking you, you applied to an advert. What made you apply to it, to do this? I know it's a little while ago because a lot has happened in the world, but if you could just, what you remember of it would be really lovely to hear.
I wanted to take part because I wanted to try something new, and also the working collectively with women just really appealed. It wasn't something I'd done before, so yeah, that's me.
Okay, and Rianne?
Yeah, myself, I love working in groups. I love working creatively in groups and learning from each other, and the fact that it was a women's group and we'd be making something about about women and for women was something that I was really interested in and wanted to be a part of.
I'm going to move on to you, Janine.
I actually studied film hundreds of years ago. I actually did a master's in documentary filmmaking. So I've always loved kind of documentary filmmaking. So I thought this would be a really good, I don't know, kind of thing to get back into documentary maybe. I feel like I've got tons of stories still to tell. You know, since graduating, I, you know, had a family, and it's so difficult to be a woman and being a director. I think I directed maybe 2 films, but it feels quite impossible. But now things have changed, and like you said, everything, you can do everything and put your own film online. So technology has moved on, and so I just felt like it'd be nice to see what's out there. And I love the concept of animation and documentary, so that's why I kind of applied. So yeah, that's why I did that.
Brilliant. Beth?
Yeah, I was just really like interested in the idea of animation and just like doing a workshop, but also like I'd never been in like a female only space, and I just was really interested to see what that would be like, because I guess, yeah, you don't really get that very often. So it was like, yeah, I was excited by that idea. But yeah.
Thank you. And Rhoda?
I did a degree in animation, but I never used it afterwards. I went into graphic design, and I was just looking for an excuse to get back into it, really.
Brilliant. That's great.
That's it.
I think it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
And Amber?
Yes. Well, just the opportunity to do an animation workshop with women, but also the idea of like different age groups and people from like different backgrounds and moments in their life. I thought all of that coming together and like all of us like working together on something, I thought would be really interesting. Yeah.
I think as we sort of half of the sort of attendees here, I think it was quite interesting how there was a different age group as well, and quite a diverse mix of people working together collectively who did not know each other. And it's really interesting to hear about the working together as women and working on something together, which I think, I hope it comes out further when you discuss about the process, what we went through to make this. Sharing ideas and things that we spoke about, because when we had sort of breakout sessions, we covered lots of different topics, and I think that even changed elements of the film as it was in progress of being animated. I'm going to start back with you, Holly, if that's okay. It'll be easier to sort of kind of go in that routine, if that's okay. Can you talk a little bit about just day 1 and day 2, however you wish to talk about, from making the paper models to discussing ideas?
I think one of the things that I found really interesting about taking part was that what's been said before about the discussion that we had when we were doing the workshop was that we were lots of women coming together of different ages and different backgrounds, but a lot of the discussion, especially the things that the younger women were saying, were things that I felt made me feel, oh, I'm so pissed off that you're having to experience these things, that I thought we'd moved on from that. And that was really interesting for me, but also made me, oh, come on, let's do this animation, and we've got to do this because we've got to express ourselves and get our voices heard, because this stuff we need to have change.
Yeah, and I think that came out in the discussions, because
yeah, really.
Just to contextualise the workshop, we initially gave it the idea that we'll use paper dolls, and everybody was making their way to the Women's March. So it was about conversations along the way, and everybody had big topics to talk about. It was regeneration, race, feminism, women, who we are, what we're doing, and we're trying to work out how do we fit it in, and the whole natural conversation comes out of through that way. So Rianne, can you tell me about your experience, and however you choose, whether it's day 1, day 2, or just something specific? It doesn't have to be in that order, just your story.
Mm. So something I remember is that a lot of the topics that we ended up talking about or bringing into the stop motion animation, they came up, like you said, they came up naturally in conversation. We would be talking about sometimes our experiences or things that were on our mind, and we ended up including that in the stop motion. It was very natural, and that's how we ended up with the different topics that we ended up. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, that's how we ended up with that. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And Janine, I'll move on to you. How, whatever way you want to just talk about the experience of being on that workshop and just discussing ideas, because I know we had quite a lot of discussion around domestic violence. I mean, that came out, and as I said, that changed a little bit of how suddenly we were filming. That changed the storyboard a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, for me, story is key, because I think the animation was really beautiful, but unless you have like a really strong storyline, I felt like it wouldn't make sense. So one of the reasons I wanted to also be part of a women's group was that I personally feel that, it's actually got worse for women. I don't know if it's because there's more, there's more things like social media that we hear about it a lot more. But to me personally, as a woman, I just feel like every other day there's like 3 stories about 2 women that have been killed and found in suitcases, or do you know what I mean? And it just feels like it's never ending. We're second class citizens. We're not, we're kind of default human beings. And I felt like if we were going to tell a story about being a woman on this planet, it needed to be a lot more stronger. So for me, it was quite a strong sense of having this kind of storyline of domestic violence, because for me, I feel like for women that is a real thing that, in advertising, in everywhere, it's just rampant. I don't know, I just feel like a second class citizen. So for me, I think that the fact that we had like a women only workshop was really good, so that these things could come out, and things like racism came out, domestic violence came out. So
gave the space to have these discussions,
exactly,
to bring anything up that you felt that wanted to be, because we knew it was a short amount of time, but we were trying to use that time as effectively. And in hindsight, with what's happened with COVID-19, and when it's been all over about domestic violence, all the things in a way that we were discussed at that workshop, they've all been heightened now, which is really interesting. And I think the title, How Did We Get Here, really is much stronger now that this whole world has changed since we did that. Thank you, Janine. Can I move on to you, Beth, as one of the younger ones in the workshop? Your experience of day 1 and day 2.
I found it to be a really nice environment. Like the atmosphere was just really nice, and we were all just talking about our different experiences, like being women, and I guess all our experiences were different because we're all different ages, and it was just, we were all just kind of speaking our minds, and just thought it was a really good thing.
Brilliant, thank you. And Rhoda, I wouldn't actually mind asking you about the puppet you made with the tattoos, and because I remember you saying something, because when we were making it, I think elements of it is really good, because I think elements of personality or things that you'd like to do, or those kind of things, came out through the paper doll as well. So if you could sort of a review of how it was for you the 2 days.
My puppet was basically a design of me, of what I wanted to be. I want to get all these tattoos, I just haven't bothered yet. The streak of pink hair. I mean, I had the streak of highlighted hair, just not pink. I still haven't done that because lockdowns kind of happened and stuff. But yeah, that was interesting, using it as a way to sort of like project this self that I kind of wanted to be, still me at the same time.
And how did you find the process?
Wonderful. It was really nice to just get into a group of women who I don't know, and it ended with me knowing them, because it was almost like we all collided together our ideas, and all our ideas were very similar and agreed on and everything. We all thought the same thing, and we just created this thing, you know, out of thin air with that energy. And it was just a really beautiful thing, because you don't get to do that kind of thing at work. At work, you're given a task and, you know, bish, bash, bosh kind of thing, usually for a target of some kind. But here, the target was basically something that was all deep inside us already. And it was like uniform, a uniform idea, you know. It's like we were all given a script, but we weren't. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it completely does, because as I was coming from room to room and like going from the audio and then running in and saying, oh, we're going to have to change something, everyone was working together. Everyone just seemed to just be on the same wavelength. Whoever took control of the camera or moving or making additional things, everybody seemed to just had a silent agreement amongst yourself,
on
like
the same
unwritten law
page
between you all, how you chose to work. Which me and Elsa was lovely, because we were watching, observing, saying, this is amazing. This is everything we've, you know, from every workshop, we always come and say, this is exactly what we want to happen. Which is really good. As I said, it's always nerve-wracking before we do a workshop, because you just never know. But that energy and the sort of freeness of the women within the group is really lovely, because you can really feel the energy.
Yeah, it was like a nice analogy I just randomly came up with. It's like we were all on the same page and we all put our pages together to make a book, which was the film.
Yeah, which is a lovely analogy. Thank you.
Moving book.
Well, there's a lot of paper there in that.
Yeah.
Amber, can I move on to you as another one of the younger members of the animation?
I don't really feel like there's a better way of summing it up like than the book, but yeah, it felt like the space like held us so that we all had our own voices and everyone got to voice their opinions. Like nothing was cut out. It was like we all contained each other and worked together. I don't know, just thinking about it now, I'm just like, yeah, when can we do another one of this? Like, yeah, it just felt like everyone got a chance to be themselves and work together, and somehow it all worked out and we created this film. I don't know,
that is really, really good to hear. And I'll just give a quick overview of Oh Honey, who we brought in to facilitate. I saw a poster up. I'm always one that when I see a poster locally, I always try and engage, because I think somebody's made it and are doing something, so I will try and go. So I saw that they were running an animation one evening to make and I was thinking, oh, how can you do that in an evening? But I went along with my daughter, and they just did a very quick little animation. So my daughter made a very quick animation. And I remember then going to say to Elsa, I said, oh, I went to this animation and I think they'll be really good to do our workshop. So I again contacted them. Last year I brought them along into the festival to screen some of their work. So last year they showed some of their work as part of the Peckham and Nunhead Young Animators workshop event. And then I said, would you like to facilitate this workshop? Which I think they facilitated really well. And I know we were really tight for time because it was 2 days. And I think they put together all the ideas and everything you said to make a really lovely piece, because it's like a first piece of bigger things. Because I do feel that you as creatives will go on to do bigger things, whether it's an extension of this or your own personal project. So again, the whole project came together from going to somebody that was doing this locally, who were creative, and then bringing us all together. So it wasn't only just the attendees, it was these other sort of women that were doing something new as well to come together to create our film. And again, we now have the platform where we have this event tonight to talk about it. Is there anything that any of the attendees or questions would like to ask anybody before we slowly start moving on to They Call Us Maids, or if the attendees want anything else to say? Oh, Caroline.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a question, and you'll probably laugh your heads off, but I haven't actually seen the film because I couldn't find the link.
Okay.
But just, it's a remark rather than a question. Just what an absolute joy it is to witness you all and your creativity. And I will see the film, and I'm sure it's...
Yeah, I'm going to drop the
amazing.
link in for you, Caroline.
Yeah. So I just wanted to remark that this is what women are about, and they don't have to know each other to get together and be an absolute power. And this is what you're demonstrating, me listening to you talking and witnessing the energy that you seem to have created together. This is what women do naturally and need to do more and more.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing we can't do.
Actually, just to
Sorry,
pick
but
up, that's true.
You've inspired me just listening to you talking to remember that. Because I think we need to remind each other that it really is that simple, getting together. I mean, you can change a lot. And you don't have to know each other.
Can I just add to that? It did feel very natural. I'd actually just started a job just before I'd come to this collective, and the team that I was working on, I was kind of one of 3 women in a team of 45, and it was so difficult to be heard and like to be in this workshop where I felt like I could be myself, and it was very natural. So I don't know, being in a women only space, you kind of feel more relaxed, or that's how I felt. So it was just, you don't have to be someone else, you can just be you. So yeah, it felt really natural to just be with other women. So that, I just wanted to add that.
And I think it's not very often that you have a space like that to just talk freely about different things. We just don't have those spaces, I don't think. I mean, unless you are part of, I don't know, Women's Institute or something like that. And not everybody chooses to be part of sort of bigger groups like that. So I think it is nice getting together with people who you don't know, and you do want to find out what they think about things. Because I know when we were having conversations, I mean, Clara, who's not here, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying, because a little bit comes up in the film, she was talking about different experiences of racism, and she said she wanted to get in about her new job, and I really love how she just brought that in. And same way with the domestic violence, just very subtly just brought in. And again, when I think back now to where we were then, just before lockdown, how the world, Black Lives Matters, the talk of domestic violence, all of these things that we were talking about anyway, it's heightened now. So I think we must use this opportunity to keep on and don't leave it. We actually must keep on with using our creativity in whatever way we can to just keep getting this across, and also working together. So you all came together, so it is possible that you can reach out to people and they can definitely come together. Are there any more questions about...
Question from Kaina in the chat.
Kaina says, I agree with Caroline.
No, before that. What was the most important or interesting part of the entire workshop experience for you?
So can you read that again? Can you say that again, Anne?
Yes. For the attendees and Tracy, what was the most important or interesting part of the entire workshop experience for you?
Anyone, feel free to go.
For me, it was just the fact that we just had a task, and we all, we knew we had to finish a job, which was basically make a film, and we all kind of did it. It could have taken a lot longer. We could have been arguing about things, but it just, it just happened very smoothly. So for me, that was the interesting part of the workshop, was that it felt like a safe space, that we weren't not doing a job. We were doing a really specific job, which was to create an animation, and we did it really well. So that was my take from it, that women can be serious, we can have fun, and yet still create an amazing thing at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was my take.
Anyone else? Well, I'll say for me, me and Elsa, it was really lovely to watch, because again, a group of women coming in, answering our ad, which is always slightly nerve-wracking because you always think no one's going to come, but you all came, you spoke, and you all just sort of got on, you sat down, and you engaged with what we were asking. And we said we did a little presentation at the beginning, and Elsa sort of gave the overview of the sort of the history of animation and protest. And I sort of chose two animators that I really liked their work. One that was Comfort Arthur's I'm in Ghana, Get Me Out of Here, which was comedy, but actually quite a strong social message. And then the other one was Jessica Ashman, with her views on the carnival, how it makes her feel. And I was thinking about that this year with the carnival being cancelled, thinking, oh yeah, that animation, I'm really glad I showed that, because that was just such a beautiful capturing the spirit of it. And even though it's not on this year, you can look at things like that, that just really gives a lovely atmosphere. So for me, and I talk on behalf of Elsa if I can, we just loved watching how everybody was working together, the conversations that were there, and yeah, everyone just gelling. And as I said, with me going time in the background, everyone was okay with that, because I was just clock watching, thinking we've got to get stuff done. So that was, for me, was really good. I think we have another question. Is that from Blue? It says, Rosario, I'm not sure if it's a question or statement, but I'm just going to read it out. I felt like every woman character in the film was unique, as in you could tell that they were all unique and had unique stories. At least it felt that way. The moment when Tona, the woman, said that she couldn't come out because she wasn't allowed, it was so subtle but so impactful. How did you all decide on the various female characters' representations you had in the film? I really hope that makes sense. Yep, it's Blue. Thank you, Blue. So I'll put that to the attendees, because you were the ones making the characters and giving them a narrative.
I think. Oh, sorry.
No, Amber, that's fine. I was going to pick on someone, but you started, Amber. That's great.
Like what Rhoda said about her character being based off of like who she wants to be. I think each character that we made was kind of based off of some part of ourselves and something that we'd experienced. Like I said earlier, the workshop like gave all of us a chance to voice something we had experienced or that we felt was important. So I think that's it. The characters, they all just reflected a personal experience or view. Yeah, I mean, that's how I felt. I felt like it was all very from within ourselves.
Would anybody else like to add what Blue's doing? Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, sorry, Leanne.
Hi, I had something to respond to the question before about what, so there was a lot of parts of this experience that I really enjoyed and I got a lot from, but I think the main thing was just learning how other people work and being able to be so different but work together so well. And also, so I'm a creative as well. I studied art and I've always wanted to do animation, like stop motion animation especially. So hearing about this, I was really excited and really enthusiastic, and also surprised how we were able to create this piece of work in just 2 days. And just, I'm really proud of the outcome, and it made me feel like we can create something. It made me feel like it's possible, and I definitely want to keep doing that sort of thing. So.
Fantastic. I hope you all are very proud of your work, because I think it is a brilliant piece of animation, and I'll drop the YouTube link in, but please, share it and use it as your stepping stone, because it is a really strong piece of work. And thank you all for attending the workshop and coming on here as well to talk about it. I'm just a bit conscious of the time, so I'm now going to move over to They Call Us Maids. I hope everyone's seen They Call Us Maids. It is an amazing film. I think it's beautiful, but it's just, the message is like, it's a powerful film, but it's just so beautifully done. So I'm going to introduce now Terry Ragg from Leeds Animation and Marissa, who worked on the project. So Terry, can I ask you to instead of me giving an introduction, can you say about who you are and Leeds Animation and about the project and how it came about, please?
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
So I'm a founder member of Leeds Animation Workshop, which was founded in 1978. I'm the only one that's been there that long, but there's 5 of us at the moment, and we set ourselves up to make a film. Well, originally we started as Leeds Nursery Film Group, which was to do a one-off project, which was to make a film about the need for nursery education. This was in the 70s, obviously, when there weren't very many nurseries available, because it seems like antique history now, but actually, in some ways it wasn't that very long ago. The idea was that when you had a baby, it was your job to stay home and look after it, and women had to give up their jobs. Most women had to give up their jobs if they didn't have their mum round the corner or something like that. They had to stop work if they had a baby, and you were sort of looked at as an oddity if you went out to work, while leaving your children, your poor little children, before they were old enough to go to school. They needed their mummy. That was the thinking. And so the women's movement started in the 70s. The first Women's Liberation Conference in this country happened in, was it 1970 or 68, around then? And they drew up a list of demands, and one of the demands was for nursery education, free 24-hour nurseries on demand, actually. That was one of the demands of the women's movement then. And so we made the film basically for women's groups and as a tool for the women's movement. And when we finished that, we were amazed that we managed to make an animated film, and that it was all proper and everything. It had taken us 2 years. It was quite hard work. And so we set up as Leeds Animation Workshop and decided to make another one. And then we just carried on. And apart from the second film, in which we had 2 of us went off and had babies while we were making the second film, which was about health and safety at work. And so we advertised for more people to come and help make the backgrounds, and a couple of blokes answered and no women answered. So for a while we were a mixed collective, and these chaps painted some backgrounds. But from the third film onwards, we decided to go back to being a women-only group for a lot of the reasons that you've all identified in what you've been saying earlier. And, there's enough problems in a collective without having to deal with sexism as well. But I'm not trying to put down collectives. I think it's the best way to work, definitely. So we've made loads of films about feminist issues, made loads of films about environmental and global issues, made films about imperialism and colonialism and racism and sexism and harassment at work, and we've made things about bereavement in families and bringing up stepchildren and bringing up teenagers and abuse of children, and made films about prison, loads and loads and loads of different things. And the one that we made in 2015 was one about migrant domestic workers. And Marissa, who I hope is still here, was really the reason why we made that film, or Marissa and her mates, because she was part of and the main organizer of a group called Justice for Domestic Workers, which has now become a registered charity, which is the voice of domestic workers. And as you said in the introduction, it's the story of women who have to leave their families in order to earn a living and feed their children, basically, in lots of different parts of the world. And I couldn't believe how many women this applies to, but there are literally thousands of women who have this same story, that they have to leave their families. They register with an agency in a poor country, and the agency sends them to places like Saudi Arabia or Dubai or somewhere where people are rich and want maids. So they live in the houses of these employers in countries that it's quite difficult to live in if you're not used to it, you know, where the heat is tremendous and where it's not easy for a foreign woman to pass on the street. And so it's difficult to leave that house if you don't like it. And also the employer takes your passport and your phone when you get there, all of these things. It's not easy to escape. But then the employers, and this applies to thousands of people, these employers will come to London or Paris or Amsterdam, perhaps. It's the same, you know, it's all the same thing that happens. They bring the maids with them, as part of the luggage almost. They bring the maids to do the housework, to look after the children while they're there. And in London, it's a lot easier to escape. If you're not happy with your situation, it's a lot easier to run away, and you know, you won't be killed by a heat, you won't be immediately visible as a stranger, you won't be immediately arrested just because you're you. And so it's a possibility to escape, and a lot of women do this. They run away when they get to London. And so that's part of what the organisation's all about. Maybe Marissa might like to say something about the organisation at this point. What do you reckon, Marissa? Let's unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
Hey everybody.
Hi.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be part of this and to meet you all. And I think at the beginning of the voice of Justice for Domestic, because I myself escaped from abusive employment, and I've been through different forms of abuse, including sexual harassment, how difficult it is to be in the household wherein even if I shouted, no one could actually hear me. Even if I jump out the window, the building was very high, I would surely die. But what also shocked me is finding out when I was already in London, I managed to escape that. I was not alone in what's happened to me. I thought I was the only one. And I've seen more serious abuse of rape, of physical assault. They are very skinny, that they could escape by a flap cat. That's how skinny they are. And yeah, so I've just feel the need of us to unite, and that's when the voice, the Justice for Domestic Workers was born, and we're lucky enough with the support of Unite the Union and many individuals, people at that time. So we met Leeds Animation. Actually, our first journey to Leeds was quite dramatic because it was we passed by at the Manchester during the French meeting of Conservative Party. So that was a big rally. We joined for a while, and then we went straight to Leeds, and we met them there, and we've been meeting every Sunday, although it was a difficult journey for us coming from London because it's a 4 hours by bus, and but we made the effort to build that, because there are also our members who migrated in Leeds, so from London to Leeds. So we and we have had many cases of abuse as well in Leeds, and we have an ongoing strong case of trafficking as well at that time. And we've seen also the needs of organizing domestic workers, and at the time we were targeting 50 of them who were actually living in Leeds. And we're also lucky to have the support of Amy and Jill, who find us some funding to be able to. So after they were the one who find Leeds Animation, and we sat down to discuss what we're going to do. And actually, it was just like it was a workshop. We're just discussing about our own experiences and domestic. Usually we were two all the time coming from London. I will bring anyone who was free to come with me. But also there were domestic workers already in Leeds. There are times we are many, but also I think the problem is also the same, that they are also not free all the time on Sundays. Some of them employers won't let them out. But also I think because I think the different in London and Leeds, we have many services for domestic workers in Leeds, where we provide them in London. We provide them ESOL classes, IT, and of course Doctors of the World, access to healthcare, but also we began to help them in NRM cases. But I think the time comes, I think the timing was very political as well, because it's the time of the change of the government, but also the time that we lost our rights as the domestic workers at that time in 2012, 2013 couldn't change employer, couldn't renew their visa, so they ended up undocumented. And we saw the film as good way to raise the issue, that we can use to highlight the problem that domestic workers were facing, and because not many really know about us. I think with Terry and Joe at the time, I think they themselves also had to talk to us many times, and even Terry went to London to talk to other domestic workers, to the members of the Voice of Domestic Workers at the time. And
it took us a long time to get to understand the situation, because people start in one country, then they go to a different country, then they come to a third country, and then all this stuff about the visas, and it felt so complicated at first. It took us months and months and months of talking to you and the others before we actually got it.
That's why the film is really a good way to show.
Because now it tells the story in 7 minutes. That is the wonder of animation, because it can do something so quickly and make
Terry,
it.
Sorry, can I ask, when with going from London to Leeds and just trying to get everybody together with all this kind of emotional turmoil as well, when did the filmmakers put the first ink on the paper and start creating?
Well, I remember coming
an ongoing process. Were they drawing all the time? When did
it was basically just two of us who made that film.
Right.
There was only two of us. and to me, the first bit of putting ink on paper actually was when I came to London and Marissa brought some of the domestic workers, and we met in the yard of the British Library. It was a sunny day, and we were all sitting around these tables, and one after another person was telling me her story, and I was writing it all down, and gradually I realized it was all the same story. And then later we went into a cafe, and I asked I think there were 3 of the domestic workers still there, and I asked them to draw their house. And to me, those drawings of the houses were the first moments,
Right.
because I think, you know, the houses were the same as well, even though some of these women came from different countries, they had the same kind of house. And actually, with Marissa and some of the other domestic workers, they'd been coming to workshops. We'd been teaching animation workshops in Leeds, same as what you've had with your group.
Yeah,
And
we did enjoy that. Like it's like we are part of the filming that we're doing it ourselves actually. Yeah, so I think we all enjoy that.
Yeah, it was great,
it's
wasn't it?
our
And
first time actually to see
yeah.
it. The first time. Yeah.
So they were beginners learning how to animate, but after we'd been doing it for a few weeks and they'd sort of, you know, we'd achieved a few seconds, I think Marissa said, this takes quite a long time, doesn't it? We're quite busy. It would be good to tell our story, but how about you do it, you know, because you've done it before. And so
sorry, Terry, to cut you. I just wanted, because I'm just a bit conscious of time, because we've got about another sort of 10 minutes. I just wanted to ask if anybody wanted to ask Terry or Marissa any questions about They Call Us Maids, or from what you've heard tonight. Does anybody?
Can I quickly ask how you initially met? Like, Terry, were you kind of looking for another project?
Not particularly, no.
Or
No,
how did it all come about?
I mean, we've been looking for projects, but we hadn't managed to raise any money for them.
Right.
Well, we met because we were doing these animation workshops, and with the there's an arts organisation in Leeds called Pavilion, and they raised a bit of money so that the domestic workers could do different activities on their one day off a week. And so we became part of that. And then when the domestic workers thought they'd like us to make a film, Pavilion raised a little bit of money. It wasn't enough to make a film, but it was enough to start. And then we, I mean, I never thought we'd do it, actually. It was such a small amount of money. But we managed to do a bit more with crowdfunding and everything. And, you know, people didn't really get paid properly for doing it, which is a shame because we've always been a union shop. But by this time, you know, the domestic workers were our mates and we wanted to tell the story. It was, and you know, that the film I think is doing a job. It's going around the world. It's been screened in lots of different countries. It's screened quite often, actually, and I hope that the domestic workers group will be able to use it for quite a long time, because that's another thing about animation. It can tell in a very short time, it can tell a complicated story, but also it doesn't age in the same way that live action films age. You know, you don't sit there thinking, "Ooh, look at that haircut," you know, because you accept it because it's animation.
I have a question here from Rhoda. It says, how long did the animation take to make and what materials did you use? It looks like ink and watercolour. Very beautiful.
Yes.
Marissa. Oh, sorry, I'll do the Marissa bit afterwards. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Jo, who's can't be here tonight, but she was the other person that we worked on it together. And Jo did almost all the artwork for it, all the artwork and all the animation. You know, I helped a bit with some of the cutting out. It was paper and paint. That's how it was done. Paper, paint, pencil and ink. And she's been associated with the workshop for many years, and she's she trained as an artist in the 80s, and she's a painter. So that's why it looks the way it does. And we did it, you know, there's no computer generated imagery in it. It's all done with brushes, paint and water and paper.
And from start to finish, from like the first drawing to the last drawing?
Yeah, well, I think it took us about 9 months, and we did, you know, a film does not start with the first drawing. The film starts a long time before that. The film starts with the first conversations, with the research, with the writing, with, you know, and it doesn't end with the last drawing as well. It goes on till like 5 years later. I'm here talking to you about it, you know. It goes on even straight after the last drawing. It goes on with editing and various bits of post-production and making it into a film, making it into a DVD, making it into a digital file that can go to festivals around the world, and all of those things. That's what the work of film is. It's a lot, you know, the intense period of production is just part of it.
The second part to Rhoda's question links in with Kaina, another question, which Marissa, was, how did you feel when you watched the animation for the first time? And Kaina also says, what did you feel when you saw the final film? And were you or the other women ever unsure about sharing your own stories?
I was always worried. Did Terry truly understand? Did she get it? Or Joe, yeah. And but because I'm very conscious about the come out that it won't really help us. It won't really address the problem, and that we cannot use it. But when I first saw it, I just wow. It brought us, you know, to really our journey, you know, our only where we came from, and then to where we were at that time, and my fellow domestic workers as well. I think they were very happy with the come out. I think that's what really we're happy to share our stories, but also something that will truly address the problem, so that it helped us, it reach out to other people and feel us. The important is they feel us, and we don't want them to pity us, but actually to act. I think it doesn't end that only, because I remember, Terry, there was we rescued one in Manchester of domestic worker being abused, and we were in London, and I had to call you and Jill and Amy and Joe, and we have a fellow domestic workers needed to be rescued, being abused by employer, and you help us, and we managed to help her, and actually she is now a bit better. But we had a second problem, Terry, and I haven't even called you because I just received a call in Manchester again.
What now?
We failed to rescue her because she already escaped without us being prepared. I haven't even called you. Now we have another problem in Manchester. The employer has camera connected in her phone, so she was caught escaping.
Oh no!
But if we did the same, the way we rescued the first one, then even they caught her escaping. Well, as long as either of us outside the house, I think we should have managed to rescue her. So yeah, so it kept on hunting me. I don't know what happened to her, you know. But yeah, we succeed sometimes we
call
fail.
us next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. From the animation, it came to reality on how, you know, I think we talk about these abuses, different forms of abuse in that animation, they escape, and it actually happened on actual, and we've been doing that rescuing for a long time, but also, you know, to have you in Leeds that we can easily call to help us rescue. That's what it means, actually, a lifeline that we can call anytime. So thank you so much.
Wow.
It's part of a filmmaker's duty to rescue any people.
Rihanna said the outcome is so beautiful, and again, I have to say, it is visually, it is very beautiful, but the subject is so, yeah, very harsh. And I think I was saying to myself, I must watch it without hearing anything and just to look at it without any sound, because it's so much to take in as a film. And I just think it's, you know, the two worlds colliding to make this is absolutely amazing. And it is about being creative and trying to get your cause across. It just goes hand in hand, that you can use your creativity for this. And I mean, I just think it's a really brilliant piece of work. Are there any more questions?
I just say one of the other things about animation, you know, in answer to somebody's question about were people scared about being in the film, actually, if you're animated, you're not easily identified, and that's another strength of animation for making films about difficult subjects. You know, people can be anonymous and still tell their stories.
I must say, it reminds me, the subject matter, it's similar in a way. I screened a film a few years ago called Auntie, where it was about lots of people from the Caribbean who would leave their children behind to come for a better life and eventually try and bring their children over. But it is that thing of having to separate from your family to come over to try and get a better life. And it is so many people experience that in so many different countries. And obviously with all the Windrush scandal we've got at the moment, lots of people from the Windrush, they have done that. And you can see how all of these different stories, when you start hearing all and it all kind of formulates together, thinking there's a lot of people that this kind of things happen to.
Yes, it's like really slightly different story, but there's a lot of similarities.
The crux of it really, of leaving your family, coming away to try and have a better life. You probably bring your kids, or you don't bring your kids. It's all of those things involved in it, and then the outcome isn't what you were prepared for. So for me, I think it's really powerful, and I think the more diverse narratives we have, the better. Really, and I think it's
and some of those things that you were saying about the film, you know, it looks beautiful but it tells a terrible story, you know, to me that's like all of the domestic workers, you know, they don't like to be called maids. That's why the title says that. They call us maids, the domestic workers story, because that is a dignified title for the work that you do. And these ladies were, you know, they would come and do our workshops, and they were always beautiful ladies with lovely, colourful, bright clothes, and they were always smiling and chattering and all of that, and they'd bring cakes and we'd all have lots of fun. But gradually, hearing the stories, hearing everyone's story, they all had a terrible, terrible story of pain and loss and difficulty and often abuse and harassment, and that's what the film expresses as well, in a way.
Well, thank you, Terry and Marissa. I think I hope everybody's found that really really moving stories hearing, and just your experience with the beginnings of Leeds Animation and how two different worlds collided to create this beautiful animation.
There's a message from Jenny in the chat.
I
didn't know Jenny was here. Where are you, Jenny?
It says, I want to thank Marissa and Terry and Joe, who personally helped me get out from my abusive employer in Manchester. So it's amazing to think, do you know what I mean, that this creative platform that you've done, it's more powerful than people realise. It's sometimes we don't realise actually how much power we do have to do things, create and to come together sometimes and collaborate like this. We are now drawing to the end of the Women in Film event, How Did We Get Here? And they call us Maids. Sorry, would you like to say something, Marissa? Oh, I think you're muted.
I just want to say that I put in the message, the chat room, the petition to reinstate the rights of domestic workers. I hope everyone can sign in and share it. So please, to help them free from slavery.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And what I will do is I'm just going to quickly paste in I copied it from your website, the link and some information about it. And also I've copied in SOLAS Women's Aid for domestic abuse in our area in Peckham. So there's 2 charities there. So please copy and paste the chat, because sometimes they disappear when we end. So
I put in earlier on, I put in the link because somebody said they hadn't seen the film.
Yeah, I put the link in as well. I'll re-put that in, so don't worry about that, Terry.
Okay. Thanks ever so much.
Put that in. Let me just quickly redo that link, and then I will just right. I'll just quickly put that in again. One, and I'll do that one. Yeah, so thank you, Marissa and Terry from Leeds Animation. It was really wonderful having you on this platform with us, and all the attendees that have attended today. I'm so glad that both of you have been here together telling stories and seeing how the similarities, the things, but I just think both of you coming together like this is just amazing. And I just can't thank you all enough for giving up your time to be part of this. So thank you all very much. The festival continues. Please go on the website and have a look. Tomorrow there's a live event, but I think it's fully booked at the Copplestone, and obviously with things changing again, you may not want to, but it's fully booked. But we also have Exploding Cinema on Saturday night and Elvis at the Nunhead Centre on Sunday. But do look at the website, but we have got lots of free films online, so please look at the shorts online, which are about collaborating as well, and there's a couple of our other workshop films on the website as well, so please enjoy that. So thank you to everybody, and enjoy the rest of this evening. Okay, thanks very much.
Bye everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.